Hello everyone. Thanks so much for taking your time midday to join a talk about unconscious bias, which for sure will be an interesting talk, if not a new thing for someone. At least I hope to just make you think after the talk, give it a thought tomorrow when you start working on something new, have talked with your friends maybe, or even come back to me with more questions. I would definitely love to hear your opinion. It's a very bias. We will talk about what exactly bias means, but it's a very personal topic, and definitely your opinions will be different than mine, and I'm so up to it for a discussion at the end of the talks. My colleague from Cognizant Softvision will help me moderate this at the end, and hopefully I can get some of your questions answered today. So let's see, who am I, what am I doing here? I'm Ioana Chiorian. My joke with Luana that everybody kind of tries to name me after. I do embrace this Hawaiian flavor, but I'm Ioana, probably the capital I don't know. It's an enigma for me, but again, I'm embracing it. I'm with Cognizant Softvision for 10 years. Last month, I literally celebrated. I'm still waiting for a cake over there. I was a QA team lead, and now I'm a project manager and also community lead for the QA community. I'm a Mozillian for more than 10 years now. And I mentioned this because it's a side of my work. I do work for our client Mozilla too, but I started before joining Cognizant Softvision doing volunteer with them. And it's an important, especially because what I do with them is to coordinate a program with more than 400 volunteers all around the world. I mentioned there that I did travel to 41 countries, and I promise not to brag, but to understand my background of multicultural / experiences, different experiences that I had interacting with so many people from different countries and different environments and backgrounds. And you can follow me on Twitter. If not, tweet me something about the talk. So bias. It will be very hard to try to explain bias because again, everyone understands it in a own way, especially because we tend to be raised in a certain way. So bias on short ways, it's exactly how we report or how we act in terms with a new situation, how we understand something, how you interconnect with people, your way of being and your own preferences, options, things that you like, things how you do stuff, because the best part of the bias, it can be of two types, both conscious and unconscious. Even though we are going to tackle more on the unconscious part later in the talk, we do have to mention the difference between these two. I was trying to put an icon of a little brain. I think it's me being very nervous at the talk with the sweaty thing, probably. So let's see, what's conscious bias? First, everything that comes facts and data, our brain will interpret it in a conscious way. We need data to generate conclusions. So everything that we learn in school, like math, physics, chemistry, all of these are literally facts and data, very, very strict, very settled, nothing to interpret there. In most of the times, 2 + 2 is 4. We did learn I think in the faculty, the 1 + 1 sometimes is 0, not 2. I still have problems with that, literally accepting it. But everything that's data, we will process it slowly through the mechanism we already have implemented. And this is processed by our conscious part of the brain. The same thing with unknown patterns. When they first come to our mind, we will decompose them. If it's something, a small piece, we did this before, we will pass to unconscious bias because we already know how to deal with that. And one thing to add more about the conscious brain is that we are able to train it. As I mentioned, we learned math, physics in school. The same we do nowadays at work, we are training ourselves to do more tools, more the processes, different technologies, and everything that comes as a training, something that we take and we learn in a specific way, in a certain way, will be on the conscious part of the brain, definitely on a conscious bias. On the second side of the brain, moving around my parts, is the unconscious one, which is habits and intuition. And habits means the way we are raised, the way we used to do some stuff, even at work, even at school, even in day-to-day living only, how we interact to environment, our intuition. So many proverbs are like, listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. Intuition is something that we feel. We cannot train it necessarily. It's just a reaction, unconscious, unprocessed, a raw reaction to new stuff. So definitely here's the huge capacity to adapt in the new environment. When you go somewhere and somebody asks you if you like something, you will not say like, give me 5 minutes, I need to process this by date. No, it has a huge capacity to process fast and quickly the new stuff that we learn or hear in a situation. And here, I mean, literally when you see a color, maybe, oh, I like this, I don't like this. This is where our unconscious bias, how we were raised, trained, how we interacted with people till now will have an input there. It will recognize a pattern. If you like green, you will definitely love a landscape or a full bloom tree in springtime. If you like blue, you're definitely at the seaside. I hope this time and not on my top. I will not be upset. So in short way, it puts people and things into category. Whenever we find something new, our unconscious part of the brain will try to put a tag on it and put it in a box. This is something we like, something we don't like. We didn't handle this before, we need to get a tag on this side. So definitely it's very influenced by our culture and our background, and it's something that we do not train actively. We'll see at the end of the tag that we are able to train our unconscious brain, but we have to do it actively and intentionally. So you will probably say, what, can you be a bit more specific, this kind of how you're raised, we heard it all the time. So I started with 12 biases that I want to mention, 6 of them that I literally try to anchor, and I use a word that is on the slide. I try to anchor in the day-to-day life in software engineering domain, in IT, something that you definitely can understand better on a project or slash a product there. So anchoring bias is exactly something that we have so much in our selling part of. Whenever you see a promotion or a sales day at a shop, if it's $2.99 and it was $5 before, definitely a bargain. But if it's $5, if it's $2.99 but you never saw the $5, is it still a $5? Is it cheaper? When you see $2.99 without being a reduction, you never think that it should be cheaper than that, and you never think it's a good bargain. But if you're anchoring it as being less than the 5 it was before, it's definitely an anchoring bias that you're triggered by, and your mind will think it's a bargain and you will take it. And the same will go with performance measurements. And here it's definitely our fault when we start measuring some performance, because the anchors we take are probably on different environments. So what's 3 seconds for a paging to load for me when I'm not in a hurry, and what's something like 3 seconds when I'm about to lose a train. So these anchors we use while taking decisions are very important, and they will create a bias on their own. The bandwagon effect, it's all this with social media and bubbles. When all of your friends like the same party, or all of your friends use the same type of product, it's very easily to interpret that that's the best product, that's the best party. And because, especially if you look in the last weekend, The Social Dilemma, the new movie on Netflix, you will see that we are kind of computed in that way. So social media definitely will show those who have the same opinions as you. And when you're surrounded with the same 10 opinions identical to you, you will definitely not see the opposite. You will not see another, a different opinion, another input to compare yourself with. The choice supported here, I hope the Apple fans will be nice with me and don't be upset that I mentioned, but if you already have an iPhone, you're definitely looking at the MacBook with the same affinity. You will like it, it's from the same brand, it syncs fast. Why would you even bother buying a Windows PC? Especially not, or Ubuntu, let's go for Ubuntu, I would go. So kind of like this is the choice supportive. The same with outcome bias. Whenever you only look at the data, you're not looking what you started. So, oh, this is fast, 3 seconds. Okay, but what are you comparing with? At the beginning, when you start building a product, it was 5 seconds. So you're only thinking that the end is important. You forget about the point that you started, and you think that everything works fine on 2 seconds. But your machine is trained already, the data are there. Like even this presentation, if I would start it right now, it will be very, very buggy at the beginning till it loads. After it loads, I'm only looking at the seconds that I spent after it went perfectly. Another one to be mentioned is the placebo bias. Here, probably heard a lot of this when we were sick. There were a lot of studies when sick people were given fake drugs, medicine, like little cubes of sugar, and they felt instantly better after, thinking that they took a pill to fix their sickness. Unfortunately, it was shown that we think this also in software engineering, in computer science, because we think we fix a bug and we don't even care to test it sometimes because we fixed it, right? So it should be fine. Or when you get the first pass after a fix and maybe your bug was intermittent and you only see it from time to time. Yeah, it's a bias that also. And one of my favorite, because I'm also using it in a talks about accessibility, and I do have one tomorrow if you want to join, is the survivor bias. We tend to look what are the data for things that survived. I mean, plane crashes. We also look at the ones that came back, but we could not decide which one is the real data. For example, in the World War II, when they came back, the planes, they were studying to see how to put them, to fortify them, to make them better, to resist more. But unfortunately, looking at the planes they returned, we wouldn't see those that never returned back, those that were literally affected, those that were in crashes. And the same with medieval castles. We can check or learn about them only of those that are still around. But that other ones that did not survive are the ones that need to be reconstructed, rebuilt, and made them stronger. So when you look at your set of data, try to understand that you might have the survivor bias. Just look of those that are most active in your app, more active in your project. Everything that I mentioned in these biases, try to connect them either with the product, if you need more user on your product, or if you're a managing or leading role, try to understand how you can use them against your team to make them more integrated. Others that I wanted to mention, and definitely you can easily find them online, are the availability of heuristic. This is how many times you see a product on the TV and you're after that tempted to buy it. Confirmation bias. When everyone tells you, you're the best at this, you tend to think that the next time you'll definitely be the best again. Ostrich bias, when you are definitely only available to hear the good parts, and when someone says negative, you're like, oh, well, probably is wrong. I only heard good stuff, so there is no negative about this project. Overconfidence is pretty much the same, but I would use a gambling example. When you have 5 rounds that you won, you're definitely overconfident that the 6th will be a good one too. And you do not assimilate the risk in the same way. You are biased because you won 5 times before. Selective perception is, again, when you see something that it's on the street, an ad is similar to you, you're definitely more happy about it. If you're not interested in football and it's a football ad, you will definitely dismiss it without even thinking. Your brain cannot process something that you're not affiliated with. And blind spot, this is an interesting example, especially if you're in medicine and stuff like that. You know, when people come and give you a nice gift and you say like, oh, I never take gifts, or I received this because it was an important job that I did. And you think in bad eyes about the other doctors because, oh, there's a bribe, but you took a gift. Oh, but my work is more. Yeah, this is the blind spot. We will never consider that we are biased, and unfortunately we are. And we are having a bias, I want to say, it's not something bad. We just have to accept it, exactly like with a privilege. Especially in these uncertain times, and I'm not even mentioning about COVID. You probably saw the situation in many other countries like US with Black Lives Matters, and there was a long talk about the white privileges and how we can improve that. While this talk is not about that, one thing that we can learn, even being myself white included, I do have a privilege and I have to accept it. It's not that I can change my color, something that I cannot change 32 years by going before being born. So I'm sorry, I just have to accept it and try to improve it. You do not decide what you are given by birth or your natural environment in which you were raised. but it is on you to change it. So while you're not to be blamed for what biases you understand you have, it is to be blamed if you're not doing something to address them and to be open about having them or accepting it. Also, this doesn't have to go with open voice to everybody entering a room, hey, I have this privilege or I have this bias, but discussing with it in mind will definitely create a better experience, again, both on product and on project. Here, a good example is to understand that we cannot change if you're born in a family of CEOs and you will be the next CEO. And it's hard, as hard as I could work, I would definitely not be in the same shoes as a CEO working 8 hours a day if we have a different start. If you start from junior, I don't think you can make it in a year to be the best CEO. But if you start being a CEO of a company and transition to another one in the same role, you might have a chance there. So don't just not ignore it, because that will create, again, the bias of not accepting the negative part. But it should give you power to change things. And why we should change things? Because the people we are working are more diverse. Even if you do not have my background of traveling to 41 countries and dealing with volunteers all around the world, and even my client on the project is super split up in the times from Taipei to San Francisco. I think we're only missing Hawaii island. Definitely in the future, we will work more and more. You can see right now, everybody works from home. We have access to way more things online, more projects, more people. We are not bounded to be in our little cute group of friends at work. And these interactions, again, might influence how you react to people and how to react to situations. And I will use a set of analogies to understand better what this diversity is. So if you're considering a party, having a diverse party is when you give out invitation to everyone. One thing that in the diversity chapter I want to mention, one thing that does really good, Benjamin Evans from Airbnb, is to consider always at the table, who are you missing, who are you not addressing? And this is for them, I think, the best approach to get more people on their platform, and including now where people maybe are, well, for sure are not traveling like before. They did online experiences, sharing stories from different parts of the world to everyone at home. They had this a bit when you were traveling, you could choose a learning experience, but you can now enjoy it from the home, from your seat at home. Isn't that a cool thing to include more people in? And I mentioned inclusion. Continue with our party. You're there, I even got invited to dance. So inclusion meaning that if you have this kind of diverse people, you should, or diverse ideas. Again, probably at work you don't have so many diverse people, but they do have diverse opinions. This diversity goes from all stages, all chapters, all preferences. So including them means that you should take account of their opinion and you should listen to their opinion. And here I wanted to mention Tatiana's Mac quote that intent does not erase impact. Being conscious or aware that you have a bias will not erase the fact that you acted against it. If you have I don't like how somebody talks, and we do have this with a lot of tutorials, your intent is to dismiss it. The impact is that you still do not know the thing that you were trying to learn to the tutorial. While I'm not saying you to get stuck to a tutorial which you don't like how it's spelled or how it's constructed, do try to understand that it's a bias and you can work against it. Just admitting it and not doing it about it will definitely affect. And it's not something that we can just forgive. Oh, you have a bias, Ioana. C'est la vie. It's not like that. And the third part of having this diversity inclusion thing is belonging. And with an analogy, it's when you dance like nobody's caring, because nobody's watching, because you are integrated in the team. People trust you, you trust them, and everybody looks at you as someone as their own. You're not feeling excluded and you're not feeling from outer space. So we were thinking, oh, nice talk, Ioana, very, very cute sayings over there, but how can we embrace it more on the practical side? Also, Tatiana mentions these stages of grief, and I really think that we all pass by it. I had this while even working with women in tech groups, first being the denial, and other will come to me and say like, oh, I hurt so hard for what I have right now. definitely. And nobody says that you have to put a CEO without having the experience in the back, but definitely give chances to more diverse people on that one. After that will be the anger side, where, well, it's not my fault that it was like that in the history. Yes, but we need to learn from history and change the mistake our ancestors did. Burden. I heard this so many times. Why there is no men in tech? Be it. You can always organize. Nobody says that if I organize a woman in tech event, men are excluded to do the same, or even most of the organization I am part of are open to everyone. We just want to create opportunity for those who do not have it in the normal processes. Depression. I hate my privilege. I hate because I'm white. I cannot, I'm sorry. It's just a stage, we will pass by it. You should not feel like that. I know it's not easy, and I do not want to dismiss depression, but it will get better. And the last part of it is the acceptance. It is not my fault, but definitely my responsibility to change it. And this came into my mind with the analogy on ecology, when we see a lot of people trying to gather garbage from beaches or forests, and the others standing aside said like, well, it's not my garbage. I didn't throw away plastic or anything. Yeah, it's not your garbage, but it is our planet. So it's the same. It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to change it if you can. Again, with training. So more on this training of the mind side, what we can do. First of thing, and the most important, is to assess your own biases. The list of 12 that I mentioned are just maybe a few, some of them overlapping explanation. You don't need to understand the names of it. Just be assured to make a step back, how we used to say in software engineering, and assess the data with a fresh new eyes. And here, try not to go first time for your preferences, for the easy choice that you always see, that you always tried and worked. And important stuff here is because whenever you unintentionally exclude, because you're not looking, you should change your behavior into intentionally include. So even if you do not use Android at all, but your app addresses it and you're focused only on the iOS, you're excluding that part of the user. You do have some of them. Intentional, include them in the next round of debate, in the next round of specification, anything. And here is an example that for me is bugging me when in my 10 years of experience in software engineering, I hear people, oh, I need an automation guy, I need a technical guy. And I'm like, I'm not a guy. And while many people say that this is accepted all over, and we say guys, it's for everyone, like, hey people, hey guys, most of the people do not feel okay, and most of them do not feel included. To be honest, those that do include it, accepted that just not to be excluded anymore, and just took it like, okay, I feel okay with guys. A good joke, but it's, to be honest, a mean one, especially because we do not want to exclude those who are in a same-sex relationship. Whenever somebody says guys and explains like, oh, I include women, and it's a man, of course, do ask them back with, how many guys did you date before? And if it turns pale, it's definitely guys means men in their mind and not woman and everyone included. I tend to say guys and girls. I send people. I address everyone in the room. You don't necessarily have to specific. The worst example in which I attended was someone say, hey guys and gentlemen. And I was like, where are the gentlemen and the guys, where are the women? I was like, fine, I'll just pass by it. But even if sometimes it doesn't affect you, with time you will see that more of perpetrating these examples are really bad for the society and / teams / projects and product. Try to think outside the default data, delegate, debate everything, do peering, sharing ideas, especially when you're starting something. And another way to do this, I mentioned in the middle, the second option is the wheel of choice. When you, again, want to include everybody, by default, you just use a tool to generate a list of order. You're just give everyone a space. And you can also do this by stepping down when you're very vocal, when you're very extroverted, and you know you do this. It's not a bad thing, but just ensure that those who are introverted or speak less than you in calls or meetings do have a chance to step up if they want to share something there. And my favorite, and that's why I left it for the last, it's what about his. It's exactly this part when I heard about the term with Black Lives Matters, and everybody's like, well, but all lives matter. Yes, all lives matter. But some are more at risk right now. Some houses are burning, some houses are not. All houses matter, but we need to approach and try to save those that are burning right now at this moment, and to consolidate maybe the ones that are not. And the same approach goes to why Men in Tech events are not happening. Nobody says they are not okay. Nobody says that they should not. Those who organize Women Dedicated just try to create opportunity for the missing parts of it, of the components. Oh. So I want to say that everything that we did till now without knowing that we have these biases, it's in a reactive way. We found a bug, we fix it. We saw somebody didn't express their opinion, had a good idea, we include it in the second iteration. What I want to say by this is that we import systems. And Tatiana Mack, I previously mentioned, has a talk of systems, and she explains how these biases, if not addressed in time, they propagate to different platforms. We cannot be in someone else's shoes. As much as we want to be empathetic and be more on their side, we can never replace their experiences and how they reacted to this, to those. Empathy is a nice thing. Empathy is a nice thing, but we should transform it in trust, and trust the people that have those problems or they had the issues, and not try to understand it completely. And we should change this reactive to proactive attitude. Again, include everyone from start, take a step back, literally I'm taking it, look at new people, literally question everything that was there. Why it's a drop down like that? Why is not included the system? Why we are performance testing it against, I don't know, 4G network when now we're have a 3G. I'm not mentioning 5G, there's another thing over there. So use this privilege that you have to amplify the voices of those who are still a step behind you in doing this. And going closer to the ending of the talk, I could not share these good examples on the internet to explain it even easier. It's not our fault that the tree is indeed towards the girl or the people, on the children, on the kid on the left side, and the one on the right side doesn't get anything. Giving them the same opportunity will raise the left kid to get an apple, but still the right kid is still not reaching any apples. It's equal treatment, giving the same stairs to both of them. But going a step forward, equity meaning that we need to give a bigger ladder to those on the lower scale, or those who have less opportunity again. And to be honest, the justice will be for us not to have to implement all these discrepancies or different things, but it should be available and equal to everyone. For the example that is mostly used, the one that everyone picks over the fence, I wanted to include it especially because we need to give even people with disability the same opportunity. And in the middle is the equity. You see on the left side is the equal part. Everyone gets a little box. In the middle, it's equity. The little girl got the boxes, 2 boxes, and the accessible person needed a ramp. And on the right side, the nice part will be to literally take these obstacles out from the system so they can have equal chances without implementation of any new process. So my favorite quote is like, don't be the sheep, be the wolf. Because I work with Mozilla, of course, there is a fox involved, and I really love the image over there. Try to do your part, try to shoot for the moon. Even if you are not reaching there, we will be among stars. So even if you're not gonna have perfect systems, perfect teams, perfect products, we will at least improve them and have a better product and better results with everything, or an even happier team. This was what I wanted to share with you today. It's just a tip of everything that this diversity and inclusion means, or what is conscious and unconscious. I am up for your questions, and please write me if you have something you want to address anonymously, if you want to learn more about my opinions, or even how I treat cases of different situations. Thank you, Dean. I see. Okay, I'm looking now over the question and answers panel, and I see Alexandra's question was already entered that we missed. Every question should be addressed to pw@sovision.com. And we have a new question. How is conflict between two people managed? That's a conflict management. It's a new domain to study, especially if you want to have happy teams. What I tend to do is to assess both sides. And also I tend to take the person out of context. What I mean by this is I do not tend to put it on people. I am not interested that Ioana didn't I don't know, add her results in time in wiki. I need to understand why she did that. And it's the same with two people. If 2-5, we need to understand why they're fighting for. Just because they don't like each other, that's a childish situation. I don't think most of the times is that. It is because they were missing something, like one of the two people didn't get access to the data in time, or the other one didn't communicate well the expectations. Most of the times, if we do a step back and we don't look at the persons necessarily, but the process between them, we will see easier what's there to be fixed and how to manage the conflict. Definitely putting it very personally, even when you give feedback to someone, if you go and say that you don't like them because they are lazy, nobody's very happy about that feedback. But if you go there and say like, I want you to finish faster this because you blocked me on other situation, I think that's a different situation, a different state to be in and start working. So my first advice in conflict management would be this, to try to understand what's wrong with the process, what cannot be improved there, and not to put the person on the table, not put it on one person. Will you have the slides made available? I tend to, as far as I know, if you write to pw@sovision.com, they will give you access to them. Most of my slides are online, of course, and I will try maybe even to make a blog post about it because it's something that I'm very passionate about. And as we see the situation going all around the world, I think it's very important to understand that people do not react because they are mean, or this unconscious part doesn't go blowing away. We have how to deal with it, and just need to learn how to see what we are unbiased about and biased about, and how to deal with those that affect others too. Okay, I do not like when people label and then group people based on that level. If you don't fit a label, then you get put into a box that close match. Definitely. So even with these people labeling, it's very different because you're labeling after one certain fact. Like right now, I'm very privileged to be white, but sometimes I'm unprivileged because I am a woman in tech. I'm sorry, I have to admit that. I don't have any bad experience, but I do hear a lot of them. I do see sometimes not being addressed. I'm very happy with the situation in Romania, in all IT sector, but definitely there are things to improve. So putting a label just for one thing that represents you, it's definitely a misunderstanding. You cannot have even 10 labels and take of them is with a hat. You should not put a label. You just try to understand where a person starts with you in the team, and see how you can address the things that you need to be changed or things to be improved, and not put it like, oh, he doesn't have a technical background, he will never understand it, or oh, she wanted to I don't know, be a manager, but she was not okay with something. No, there's no importance of that. You need to, oh, he doesn't have the skill at this point, retrain him. Oh, she's not good with communication, she will do more on that side. We just need to give chances to be on the same level with us when we want to deal with the same experience. I think that I've answered most of them. Okay, last one in. From Joel, how do we identify our biases, especially when you are the new junior QA in the team? I mentioned some of them. Whenever you are dealing with a new situation, think about why would you test this in that way? It's just because that's how you know, like you're doing functional tests. Okay, do we need non-functional tests? Because you have a list of testing technology. Yes, Did anyone try to do non-functional till now? Oh, no, nobody did, because we only know functional till now. Okay, so you're going and adopt that. Second, you look at the environment. Was this only tested on specific devices? Why? That's what the client sent us. That's what the client asked from us. This was available. Did we try something online? Did we try different operating systems? Did we try different browsers? Did we try, I don't know, not having internet? All the things that can change are factors to bias. Of course, it's very fun. Everyone wants to test only on Pixel 4 or 5 or in the latest iPhone 11 and everything, but the reality is different. We all know that our users are way lower platforms, so we need to be able to leave our preferences and be more where our user data or our team's data are with knowledge. Okay, I think I've addressed most of them, and I want to be mindful of time. I'm very thankful that you stayed till now. If you do have more questions or just want to share your opinion with me or links or everything, I did prepare slides partially with more on this topic. The example with being at a party, being invited, being asked to dance and dancing like nobody's watching, it's from Verna Myers. You can see most of her talks or articles online, and she addresses this fact very meticulously with a lot of examples. And the book that I would like to recommend is The Blind Spot. Write me and my email address within Cognizant Softvision, ioana.chiorian@softvision.com, and I will happily reply there with more links, my opinion, answer to your question and everything. Thanks so much for being today here, and happy program music.